After the Second World War, Britain faced a problem most militaries would kill to have. Its standard rifle, the Lee-Enfield, simply refused to fail. It worked in mud, sand, rain, snow, and chaos. It fired fast, hit hard, and kept going long after logic said it should stop. 2 world wars, countless campaigns, millions of rounds, still reliable. And that, strangely enough, was the problem. A weapon that performs flawlessly leaves no room for committees, modernization plans, or bold new doctrines. It embarrasses future designs before they are even built. Britain didn't just want a replacement for the Lee-Enfield. It wanted progress. Something modern. Something forward-looking. Something that looked like the future, even if it didn't actually work as well. What followed was not a single mistake, nor even a series of accidents. It was something far more impressive in its own way, a decades-long pattern. Over and over again, Britain would take a decent idea, compromise it, defend those compromises, and then institutionalize them. This isn't a story about stupidity. It's a story about consistency. Before we get to the failures, we need to talk about a success. In 1938, Britain adopted a light machine gun based on a Czechoslovak design. It was called the Bren, named after Brno, where it was designed, and Enfield, where Britain manufactured it. The Bren was superb. Accurate enough to rival rifles, reliable under brutal conditions, and built to a standard that made soldiers trust it with their lives. Many historians still consider it one of the finest light machine guns ever fielded. But the Bren had a distinctive feature that would echo through British small arms history like a bad idea refusing to die. Its magazine was mounted on top. This wasn't ignorance. It was logic. A machine gun is most effective when fired from the prone position. A bottom-mounted magazine forces the weapon higher off the ground. A top-mounted magazine allows the gunner to stay low, reload quickly, and keep firing. On paper, it was smart. In practice, it came with costs. The top-mounted magazine blocked the sight line, forcing the sights to be offset to the left. You couldn't aim straight down the barrel. The Bren could only be comfortably fired from the right shoulder. Left-handed soldiers were expected to adapt, or suffer quietly. The tall magazine also made concealment harder. When you're hiding behind cover, having 30 rounds of ammunition sticking up into view is not ideal. Vehicles didn't help either. Inside armored cars or scout vehicles, spent cartridge cases had a nasty habit of ejecting straight into unfortunate places. The British military noticed these problems. They correctly identified that magazine placement mattered. Then they learned the wrong lesson. Instead of thinking, this works for this role but causes issues, they concluded, unusual magazine placement is acceptable. And once something becomes acceptable, it becomes tradition. By 1940, Britain was desperate. Dunkirk had stripped the army of weapons. Invasion seemed possible. The Royal Air Force needed submachine guns immediately to defend airfields and bases. There was no time for innovation. So Britain did what many desperate nations do. It copied a proven enemy weapon. The result was the Lanchester submachine gun, based closely on the German MP-28. The logic was sound. The MP-28 had proven itself in combat. Britain simply recreated it using domestic manufacturing. Unfortunately, Britain recreated everything, including the mistakes. The Lanchester featured a heavy wooden stock, thick steel components, and even a magazine housing machine from solid brass. It was beautifully made, but wildly impractical for wartime mass production. And then there was the magazine. A straight, 50-round magazine fed from the left side of the weapon. 50 rounds sounds impressive until you try to use it. Fully loaded, the magazine was long, heavy, and stuck out like a metal club. The gun became unbalanced. Moving through narrow ship corridors or aircraft interiors became a constant battle against door frames and bulkheads. Aiming felt wrong. Weapons are meant to be symmetrical when shouldered. The Lanchester wasn't. Nearly a kilogram of ammunition pulled the gun sideways, fighting the shooter at every moment. Safety didn't help. The Lanchester was notorious for accidental discharges. Drop it, bump it, or mishandle it, and it might fire. Not comforting on a crowded ship. It was also absurdly heavy for a 9mm submachine gun. Experts of the time openly criticized it as massively overbuilt. And yet, the Royal Navy used it anyway. Thousands had already been ordered, and wartime Britain did not have the luxury of starting over. The Lanchester solved a shortage problem, but it taught Britain another dangerous lesson. Expensive, awkward weapons were acceptable if they looked solid. The solution to the Lanchester's cost problem was not refinement. It was desperation. Enter the Sten. Introduced in 1941, the Sten was designed around one brutal requirement: make it fast and make it cheap. It was built from stamped metal, minimal machining, and crude welding. Nearly 4 million were produced. The Sten inherited the side-mounted magazine design. That decision alone brought most of its problems with it. The magazine used a double-column, single-feed system that was extremely sensitive to dirt and damage. A small dent or bent feed lip could cause repeated stoppages. Soldiers quickly learned to load fewer rounds than the magazine allowed, because a full magazine was unreliable. Safety was almost optional. Early Stens could discharge if dropped or even set down incorrectly while cocked. The idea that your gun might fire itself became a running joke, one that stopped being funny very quickly. Quality control was inconsistent at best. Units often test-fired every Sten before deployment to identify which ones actually worked. Receiving a brand new Sten right before combat was not good news. And yet, the Sten served. Not because it was good, but because it was available. Britain survived the war, invasion never came, and the Sten became proof that terrible weapons could still be tolerated in extreme circumstances. Unfortunately, that tolerance did not disappear with peace. After the war, Britain finally held proper trials. The result was the Patchett design, adopted in 1953 as the Sterling. To its credit, the Sterling was genuinely good. It was reliable, accurate, and well-engineered. Its bolt featured helical grooves that helped channel dirt away, improving reliability. Soldiers liked it. But the magazine still fed from the left side. By now, this was no longer necessity, it was habit. The Sterling's magazine was actually excellent. Curved, robust, and reliable, it is often considered one of the best submachine gun magazines ever made. It could even use older Sten magazines, preserving logistical compatibility. Yet ergonomics still suffered. Soldiers were trained not to grip the magazine, but under stress, hands naturally went where the bulk was. Holding the magazine increased the risk of stoppages. The Sterling worked, but only if you remembered not to hold it the wrong way. Designing a weapon that fails when used instinctively is a questionable choice. In the late 1940s, Britain briefly broke free from its own habits. The EM2 was revolutionary. A bullpup rifle firing an intermediate cartridge, fitted with an optical sight as standard. Compact, controllable, modern. It worked. The cartridge balanced power and recoil perfectly. The bullpup layout gave a full-length barrel in a short package. Soldiers could fire accurately and quickly. Then politics intervened. NATO standardization favored the American 7.62 round. Britain objected. The argument escalated. Technical merit lost to political pressure. The EM2 was cancelled. Fewer than 60 were built. Britain adopted the FNFAL as the L1A1. It was reliable, accurate, and respected worldwide. Britain removed full automatic fire. Official reasoning focused on discipline and ammunition conservation. Reality was different. Soldiers modified their rifles in combat to restore automatic capability. When troops undo official design decisions in the field, doctrine has failed. In the 1980s, Britain returned to the bullpup concept with the SA-80. On paper, it was modern. In reality, it was a disaster. Poor manufacturing, fragile magazines, right-handed only design, and chronic reliability issues plagued the weapon. Parts were forced into alignment. Failures were common. Eventually, Germany was hired to fix it. They did. From the Bren to the SA-80, the pattern is impossible to ignore. Good ideas compromised. Problems defended. Lessons misunderstood. This isn't bad luck. It's tradition. And traditions, no matter how old, can be broken.